All right. So, I guess I should probably do an intro, right?
Yeah, I guess that works.
All right. Hello, my trigger happy friends. My name is Stevie Cade, and welcome to another installment of Full Frontal Nerdity with the only guest I really want on my channel right now, my good buddy, Chris Durban from the channel Durbania. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
You know, post-apocalyptic life, hashtag.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic. Actually, I've been reading some post-apocalyptic books recently, so...
It's actually quite fitting that you joined me again for this podcast because we released our first one at the very beginning.
Wow.
Of the whole COVID thing happening. Remember, it was like...
Oh my gosh, it was. It was.
You know, and now, as you said, the world is starting to spin again. Now we're coming back, and I think it's very fitting that we're doing this again. So.
Yeah, I don't know that it's starting to spin for Californians again.
Oh, is it not?
They're trying to jumpstart it, but it's not. Yeah.
Well, the fact that I've played 2 gigs in the past week.
Yes.
That's world spinning for me.
Yeah, there you go. The world is spinning. I like it.
This podcast is not just willy-nilly. We have an actual topic this time, and the topic is the 30th anniversary of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. One of my favorite movies of all time, hands down. You saw it in theaters, right?
I saw it opening weekend when I was in kindergarten. I was 6 years old, and I was there, my friend, and This was probably the first or second movie on the big screen that I was highly anticipating. And I was anticipating this to the point that I had dreams about this movie before I saw it. And I could still remember those dreams. That's like how much I was so excited.
I remember the trailers for it. You know, I remember like seeing like they had like, remember that scene where I think it was Leonardo where he squirts the water in the one of the Foot Clan's face.
It was Donatello, yes, because they put his face in the fish tank and then he spit in their face. Yes.
For some reason, you know, 7-year-old me thought that was like, I was guessing, I think that's Rocksteady or Bebop. I bet that's one of them. You know, when I saw it in the trailer, I was like, I couldn't wait for Rocksteady and Bebop to show up, and well,
yeah,
never got them until 20-some-odd years later, 25 years later.
Yes.
But either way, it didn't matter. This movie was magical. I was doing ninja kicks when I was walking out of the theater. What a good decade, or not decade, what a good few years that was, because 1989... the 1989 Batman came out, and I went and saw that in theaters. Yeah, my first 2 biggest memories are that Batman and this Ninja Turtles movie. So
I think I could say the same thing, because I remember when the 1989 Batman came out, and I still remember all of my excitement to see that. And I saw that on the big screen multiple times. And then all of a sudden, the Ninja Turtles went from being a cartoon show to live action. And boom, boom, that was it for me. Those were my years.
While the cartoon was still like hot, like it was still the thing to watch on Saturday morning. And that's one of the magical things about this movie is that even though it did kind of use the opening title for the cartoon, nothing else about it was really cartoony.
No.
It was really its own thing of what FHE, Family Home Entertainment, was the original distributor.
I think so. That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, it had that like, little cartoon, and you saw like the red F, the yellow H, and
I forgot about all of that, and now as you're describing it to me, it's the memory is returning. Like I had never even thought of that since then.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, they were the original people that put it out, and it was such a low budget thing. And I'm telling you, man, low budget is the way to go when you have passion behind it.
Yes,
they work so hard to make it look so real. Like still, like until we got a CGI, and even that is arguably better. You know, like some people will, like for me, I will always say 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles looks the best.
Yeah.
You know, the turtle wise, they look clean. They're not overdressed or whatever they did in the new movies, which I like to a degree.
Yeah.
But man, it was sometimes Donatello, like, take it down a notch, Don.
Well, how did the Donatello in the new movies do flips and stuff? I mean, he's carrying giant computers on his shell. Those would fall off. I mean, I know,
Physics does not exist, but we'll get to those, because we should, we don't really have a script here. We're going rogue like Full Frontal Nerdity usually does. So let's start off with talking about that first movie. I know you and I disagree on some things. You don't know what we disagree on.
I don't, actually, so I'm waiting for you to bring up what we disagree on. So,
well, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know we're going to tap on it at some point in time.
Good. I can't wait.
So let's start off with you, if you don't mind. What sticks out the most to you about the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie?
Oh, man. What sticks out to me the most? That's really hard. Okay. So as you say it, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is Raphael. He was always my favorite turtle. And I think the reason he was always my favorite turtle is when I was a kid and I was in Toys R Us, I had never heard of the Ninja Turtles or the cartoon, and I saw this Raphael toy, and I got him because I thought the size, I didn't know what they were. I just thought they were cool swords. I thought that was awesome. So right then and there, he became my favorite turtle. I didn't know there were 3 others or a show, and when I discovered that, man, it was amazing. But once I got into the movie, Raphael truly became my favorite character just because of his character. I mean, my gosh, when he meets Casey Jones for the first time,
yes.
that scene is
what
so
a magical
brilliant.
moment. That scene really captivated both of them, who they are.
Yep.
In that, because they're essentially one and the same person.
Yeah.
You know, both have a chip on their shoulder. They're both just rogue vigilante people, except Raphael has the extra weight of having 3 other brothers and, you know, a sensei to deal with.
Yeah.
And Casey Jones is like, you know, bachelor pad over here, you know.
I'm just going to use my hockey sticks. I'm going to beat the crap out of people. Raphael's like, well, I'm going to beat the crap out of people, but not with hockey sticks because I should be more honorable than that, right?
Right. That's that extra weight that he's carrying on him. He's carrying all of his training, you know, and they could both really benefit each other in certain ways. Except even today, I still have a hard time believing that he just thinks he's a punk rocker in some green makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Even the guy in the taxi cab knew that was a turtle in a trench coat. Let's go.
Yes. It's weird because you have to chalk it up to this, right? What if you and me were walking down the street and a giant mutated turtle walked by talking English? I mean, we would definitely stop and give that a double take. We would probably think that looks like a turtle, but it's humanoid and it's I mean, would our brains register at all what we're seeing? I could argue that Casey Jones's reaction wasn't big enough. Like, he should have really, but you know what? It doesn't matter because what that moment captured, it didn't have to capture the realistic in humanity. It had to capture what those characters were. And it did it. It captured who Casey Jones was and who Raphael was.
It absolutely did. And if that movie was copy and pasted today, how Raphael looked could be easily done with cosplay. Yeah. Oh, some dude in cosplay. Gotcha.
Exactly. Yes. And it totally would have been played off as that for sure.
Yeah. And Raphael earned his place as my favorite character just on the deeper level over the years, how deep he is.
Yeah.
But when that movie came out, he's my instant favorite because he said the bad word.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
when he screamed out the word damn, every 7-year-old, 6-year-old going to see that movie is like, oh my gosh, I just heard a Ninja Turtle cuss, and he does it twice.
you know what's, no, he does it way more than that. But what's really funny, I don't remember how 6-year-old me reacted when he said it. I don't remember at all. I remember watching it back as an adult going, oh, interesting. This movie had edge. It was turtles made for kids, and they did what movies are afraid to do now. And just had a little bit of edge. It just appealed a little bit to adults too. And I was like, I wish more movies would have less fear when they make movies nowadays.
Absolutely. And you know what? In 90s, I think the 90s were crippled by their lack of visual effects. Or what? Because I think that would have been a great time to actually make genuine comic book movies. Another example, this one being a prime example, another one is The Crow.
Yeah. I've only seen pieces of that one, but go ahead. Yeah.
What? You know, my son's middle name is Draven after that movie.
Whoa.
You got to see it, man.
I will have to. I will have to.
But but it's a very edgy comic book movie. You know, and it's rated R. It's not for kids or anything like that. And I think the 90s really had a good opportunity to explore that, but their hands were tied with their lack of visual effects at the time. You know.
Yeah. But which is really sad when you think about it, because it's if you look at that Ninja Turtles movie, it had heart. And it had heart in a way that even the new 2014 one, which I think is good, but it had heart in a way like even those 2 new movies didn't have. And like you said, it stinks because they were crippled by their lack of visual effects. But I will give them this. Going to Jim Henson and having Jim Henson create those costumes, it was amazing. And to see the actors... Like, okay, so going back to Raphael, my favorite. When Raphael is fighting the Foot Clan on the roof, I mean, that's a dude in a giant turtle costume doing actual martial arts fighting.
Yep.
You gotta respect that.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, those costumes could not have been easy to manipulate and articulate. And especially all the craftsmanship that went behind actually getting them to talk and actually match up with what the voice actors were doing. I couldn't imagine how difficult that actually had to be.
I cannot imagine what ADR was like for that movie. When the actors came into the booth to record the voiceover work, that would have been a pain.
Well, I mean, maybe you know better than I. Which came first, the actors or the visual? Like,
I've wondered that every time I've watched the movie, because I'm not sure that it was the actors doing the voice who wore the costumes. I could be wrong on that, and that's probably worth looking up.
No, they're not. As a matter of fact, the guy that plays Michelangelo can actually be seen as the Domino's pizza delivery guy.
That is hysterical. Oh my gosh, that's a fact I did not know, and that is hysterical.
Each person in the costume has a cameo in the movie, but his is the most prominent, and I think one of the others is like a Foot Clan with the mask on and stuff like that.
Oh man.
But there you go. But no, the actors did not wear the costumes.
There you go. So I don't know who came first. I mean, it probably didn't matter if the actors even came. But if they're in the movie as cameos, they must have already known and already had them cast. But it's just.
My point is like to match the mouth up to what they're saying. Like, did they already have to say it?
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Honestly, I would think, and I could be wrong, but when I think about movies, I would feel like they did that after. Like, they went back and did the ADR afterwards. Because even now, like, I'm watching stuff for The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, and, you're seeing the guy who plays the Mandalorian in the ADR booth, like, doing the voiceover stuff with the footage. Like, they're looking at the footage while he's doing it. So I would have to assume it was the same deal, because you want to make sure the actors are, like, huffing and puffing when they need to huff and puff. And so for that, you probably need to see, okay, is the character fighting here? Is he underwater here? Sense. Yeah, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
But that shows how much pre-planning actually would need to go into, these are your lines. Do not improv. For God's sake, do not improv.
Yeah.
Because we already shot all this footage with their mouths saying these words, so.
And look, we already got their, and that guy's wearing the suits were doing the motions to the lines. So they already had the mannerisms down and all of that stuff. So it's like, you gotta be good in that ADR booth for that movie.
So, but this movie did have heart, man. And it had heart where you weren't looking for heart. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that they spend a lot of their time leaving the city, rediscovering who they are as brothers. And we essentially just watch the turtles laying around a lot of the time, they don't know what to do without Splinter, and they're not sure, and they have to rediscover and realize that they have to become their own trainers. They have to become their own inspiration. The person that they lean on for guidance is gone.
Yeah.
And Leonardo has to step up, which I guess he's the leader in this movie, not according to the song at the end. It always drives me nuts. That always drives me. And Raphael, he's a leader of the group, transformed of the norm by the nuclear goop, or whatever he says. Oh, man,
I never paid attention to that. I just love the chorus, TURTLE power. Like, that's the part that I remember and always. And I drove my aunts and uncles crazy when I was 6 because I would sing that over and over and over again. But yeah, that's weird. But no, I think when you watch the movie, I think clearly Leo's the leader because they capture the turtles so well. Like, Leo was trying to lead, even though that wasn't the emphasis of the movie. But you see Raphael and him constantly butting heads. And
Leo definitely steps in as, if not a leader, definitely as a fatherly figure.
Yeah.
More so than anything, But Splinter himself, looks like he's about to die this entire movie.
He does.
I can't see him actually being, like he looks like he's on his last leg.
Yep.
Well, Splinter's gone. Maybe we should just let this one go, guys.
Hey, let me ask you something since you brought up Splinter looking so fragile. I'm curious for your thoughts on this now that I have somebody to bounce it off of live. So, the whole backstory is Oroku Saki killed Splinter's master. But then he took his katana, which is huge compared to a tiny little rat that hasn't been mutated yet. and he sliced his ear. And I'm thinking, that katana is huge, and that rat is little, and that rat's ear is even smaller. No, he didn't slice the ear. He cut off Splinter's head. Sorry, Splinter is dead by all logic. He did not slightly graze the rat's ear to leave a scar that I barely noticed when I'm watching the movie.
We are talking about an expert ninja.
What? Sure. Okay. Let me leave the rat a message.
Right. What was wrong with the cartoon explanation?
What was the cartoon explanation?
The cartoon explanation was Splinter and Shredder. I can't remember their names. Urukosaki was Shredder. I can't remember Splinter's name, but Splinter was human.
That's right.
And the ooze turned him into a rat.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like Bebop and Rocksteady were human and turned into their animals. Right.
Right. What was wrong with that? Because this whole, I'm a rat and I just started mimicking my master's movements for my cage. What? Come on, man. What's wrong with that original element of, him and Urukosaki having that history together before he got mutated makes a way more sense that he would know, the martial arts, why he would have that history with Shredder. What they explained in this movie was just very odd.
And I guess I didn't notice it as a kid, but the older I got watching that movie, and I was still not an adult, but I remember watching it going, well, wait a minute. Splinter was mimicking his master in the cage, but Splinter wasn't mutated yet. He didn't have mutagen.
No.
Where did he get even the intelligence to mimic his master? And remember,
a rat in a cage.
Yes, despite all his rage, he's just a rat in a cage.
That song was written for Splinter. That's his theme song. So here we are trying to talk what we love about this movie, and now we've decided to pick it apart.
Well, can we help it? We're YouTubers.
No, hey, this is 30, some odd old us realizing, okay, you know what? There's a lot of suspension of disbelief going on in this film.
Yep. Yes. But you know what, though? I'm willing to do that with this film because...
Yeah.
So going back to what we said earlier about what was good, is it had heart. You were right. There's a huge chunk of this movie where the turtles are depressed and laying around. Yeah. And even as a kid, I wasn't bored during that scene because, like you said, it's them rediscovering themselves, rediscovering their brotherhood. And in this rediscovery, it culminates in meditating. So they overcame their own minds and were able to master their own minds and then connect with Splinter, which became like this incredibly powerful scene in the movie. And finding that he's alive gave them the guidance they needed. So, like you said, like even these boring scenes have so much heart that it's not boring. So even Splinter and his ridiculous origin is fine because the movie has so much heart.
And you're absolutely right. This movie really propelled itself on old-fashioned great storytelling.
Yes.
It really did. And that's what makes this movie so magical for me. And so memorable. It's where 7-year-old me and 37-year-old me can watch this movie and feel the same about it.
Yep.
Because the story being told means something. It's not a popcorn flick. It's not fast food cinema. It's good. It's something solid that's wholesome, and you learn something from it,
Yep. And it's so full of heart that by the time you get to Shredder and the Turtles fighting on that roof, it is sincerely one of the best scenes. Like the musical score that pops up when they take him on one at a time and he takes them out one at a time. That moment where they say, "Where's Splinter?" And he goes, "The rat. So it has a name. Had a name." And then they scream and attack him one more time and he takes it's like, those were really good moments because of the heart they built up behind this.
Or even, I should have, this is the stuff I wish I had written down. I was going to write down beforehand. I can't remember who directed this movie. But the director and cinematographer of this film, they did a great job.
Yeah, they did.
Really just setting a tone. I mean, Shredder's introduction was so brilliantly done. I mean, every little piece from how, that long menacing shadow that leads to like him standing in a spot where the light gleams off his blades on his hat or his headgear. Like, that is such a cool shot.
It really is. And the music too, like as he's walking down that hall and you just hear that music like bum bum bum.
Yeah, and they use that in the new sequel.
I'd have to go back and check that out. I just rewatched it and I missed it again.
Yeah, it's something I noticed like a year and a half ago that they fit in that da 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 like in some of the Shredder scenes. So,
well, that one was all about nostalgia and very little heart. So it's no surprise that they threw that in there.
Well, we'll get to that because that's actually my second favorite one.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't hate it like the world hates it, but I also don't love it. But we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. So this movie, Casey Jones, to me was on point.
Yes.
This is live action Casey Jones. You know, he was an F-bomb and beating somebody to a bloody pulp away from being what I think, you know, the original creators wanted Casey Jones to be.
Yeah.
And the dude that played him, again, I wish I had this stuff written down. The dude that played him, he did a great job, stuck out. Still my Casey Jones. That's one of the things we disagree on. That's it.
Yeah.
What's his name? Who played Casey Jones?
Stephen Amell.
Stephen Amell. That's man. That is not Casey Jones. That is Pinocchio. That is Pinocchio. One day I'm going to be a real detective. No.
But you know what? Okay. So let me say this. For years, that tore that Casey Jones down in my eyes. So when I did my ranking on my channel not too long ago, and I went and rewatched that scene is just as bad, if not worse, than I remembered. One day I'm gonna be a real detective, I promise. Like, that was terrible. That's not Casey Jones. But that's also not Stephen Amell's fault. That's terrible writing, and we have to force this exposition that's gonna come out naturally, in a more natural place in the script later. So we just gotta throw it out early for some stupid reason. But I feel like the rest of Stephen Amell's performance was good and on point. He should have done more in The Mask, and should have done more with the hockey sticks, for sure.
I think they should have just taken the name Casey Jones off and gave him somebody else's name. That's not Casey Jones. I can't see it. I don't buy it. You can't sell that for $1.
You know how they did Batman versus the Ninja Turtles, that animated movie? They should have just had this be the Green Arrow and had this CW verse crossover into this. That would have been great.
There you go. There you go. So yes, 1990 Casey Jones will always be my Casey Jones. He's just your man's man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just his relationship with April O'Neil is so toxic and so romantic at the same time. It's like this is a 90s relationship right here.
Yes, it is. Those two were really great together. First off, that April O'Neil, I should have wrote this down. Judith Hoag, I think was her name.
Yeah, Hoag. Yeah.
But she, hands down, of all the Aprils, is the best April O'Neil live action, and in all the films, she is the best. And
she's very genuine in the role.
Yes, and I just liked her. And I remember as a kid, I kind of had a crush on her, and it was odd because, you know, as a kid, I had a crush on the Pink Power Ranger because she was cute, but I had a crush on April O'Neil because I liked her smile. You know, like, yeah. I liked this April O'Neil, and I liked her spunk. And her chemistry with the Turtles was perfect. But back to Casey Jones, like, their chemistry was perfect. It's like you could really see here are two characters that were made for each other. Like, if ever there were soulmates or a match made in heaven, it was Casey Jones and April O'Neil from this particular movie. Like, it just fits so well.
Yeah, and the actors, they had great chemistry together.
Yes.
You know, you could tell they genuinely had a good time on that set. And that just came through on the screen, man. It seemed like everybody had a good time. Even the voice actors who weren't on set, they really seemed to be completely connected.
Yeah.
You know, with this role, you know. But yeah, the relationship between Casey Jones and April O'Neil, that was, you know, we wanted them to get together. It seemed like they got together at the end.
Yes. Then Turtles 3 ruined that idea, but I don't know if I count that as canon.
What a weird thing. Yeah, and Shredder had some great depth to him. The backstory was a little iffy.
Yeah.
And I still have, well, younger me loved this concept because younger me being the rebel without a clue that I naturally am. You know, I always wanted to be the one who went down into that hideout and hung out with the,
And you know, having known you in high school, Steve, I can totally see that about you. Like, you wanting to go and hang out in that hideout.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, like, looking at it now, it's like, okay, why are they putting graffiti on a pointless wall in a basement? Like, who's going to see that? But, like, but I don't know. I did like the way that they played into manipulating the youth of the city into, you know, creating what was essentially a cult for Shredder, and I would have really liked to have seen what got him there. Why did he have to leave, Japan? Was he excommunicated? Was he kicked out? Did something happen to where he has to restart, and now he's starting this way, with these young, influential children? Because I feel like that would have been a really cool story to dive into, and I really would have liked to have seen where that could have gone if they went that route.
I agree with that, because there's been time, and this is only grown at me. Kid me could have cared less, but adult me thinks about that and goes, yeah, what was kind of the deal behind that? But kind of like, we wondered what was the backstory of Darth Vader, and then we got it, and we're like, okay, didn't need any of that. I kind of look at this and I go, maybe it's best, because maybe it's the fact that why he's here is shrouded in mystery, gives Shredder more mystery. And then, like what you said, it just makes it all that much more sinister, because I said this in my theological review for this movie. I said that Shredder was the real picture of a false father. He didn't love the kids that he was bringing in.
Yeah.
They were tools to him, and that was it. It was nothing else, but he knew how to play on their emotions to create this cult and to pretty much brainwash them and bring them in. Like, he knew exactly how to manipulate. And then when Splinter gets brought into this, and they see a dude who is a prisoner, chained up, and yet still managing to show genuine love to these kids, you can kind of see, like, oh, that's the love and acceptance I've been looking for, and that's where it is.
Yeah.
It's not in the dude with the spikes on his shoulders. Like, I thought that was really cool. I don't know. I think part of it was kids' movie, so they don't want to dive too deep into that. But, yeah. I'm curious. I would like to know. I've never known why he left Japan.
Well, damn it. I'm 30 years older now. Give me my backstory.
Yes! Come on! If we're in that prequel mode, let's do a prequel to the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie and show us why Urukusaki left.
Yes, let's do it. I want that story. Yes, let's get the Urukusaki story. Let's feel bad for him and watch his transformation. And hopefully George Lucas will stay away from that.
Oh, man. Oh, you're going to get the hate comments now.
Probably. That's all right.
You brought Star Wars into it. Oh, boy.
Well, of course. It's a podcast with Durban. We managed to go that route somehow. Anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but yeah, that first movie, man, it really had something magical about it. A lot of things that were magical about it. And I think what it boils down to is it had a lot of people behind the scenes that really wanted to tell a good story.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter that on the rooftop scene you can see the backdrop hanging down a little bit. That stuff doesn't matter. Yep. Or when Michelangelo screams, "I love being a turtle," and you can see the robotics on his neck a little bit. Those things, that's what adds to the overall character of this movie. Yep. Being older.
Well, I said it in my review. There's those scenes where you could definitely see the turtle head connected to their throat and see that it's truly a mask.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a part of that actually adds to the realism, if that makes any sense. Because it's like, this is in the flesh. This isn't cartoony. This isn't CG. This is real.
Yeah.
And it's actually here. And in my mind, it kind of adds to that.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Somebody create it. You can reach out and you can touch it. You can pet it. And I wouldn't want to pet it, though. I don't know.
No.
I feel like petting a turtle would sound weird.
Yes, I had a turtle once. They don't like to be pet.
But yeah, I mean, we can sit here and pick apart the costumes all day. The foam turtle shells that,
Yep. But then it's like, why do that? Because
it doesn't matter. You know what? In this world,
I don't care.
In this world where we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm just going to believe that their shells evolved.
Are foamy-like.
Yeah, they're soft shells.
That's why not? They're mutated, so who's to say all these things didn't mutate in these weird ways? Come on.
Right. See, the thing is like, I don't need to pick apart this movie in that way.
No, I don't. It's easy to, like, if we sat down to do it, but, like, I feel weird about it.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't do that. Like, yes, it's kind of funny to point out Urukusaki should have cut off Splinter's head trying to go for his ear.
Right.
That's ridiculous. The fact that this rat could learn karate from a cage without being mutated, it's ridiculous. But then I go, well, it's also about 4 turtles that talk and know ninja from a rat. So really, the whole thing is ridiculous, and I should just enjoy this.
It's like making the argument of, like, how does SpongeBob cook burgers underwater? It's like, dude, you're watching a show about a sponge living underwater. Have you ever seen a sponge not float? Come on now.
Yeah, right. Yes. I think he's a sea sponge, but he doesn't look like a sea sponge. He looks like a sponge.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole, Durbin.
No, that's right. Let's not do it.
All right, so the first movie, hands down, magnificent. The voice casting was great. Still to this day, Corey Feldman is also my Donatello.
Me too.
You know,
Me too.
That's when I hear his voice, that's Donatello before it's anything else.
Yep.
Now.
Yes.
Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze.
Yes.
You want me to take this one, or you want it?
You know what? If you had me start last time, you take this one.
This movie, at the time, it's what I would compare my experience with Justice League like. When I saw it in theaters, I was kind of like, oh yeah, that was kind of fun. And then when I started thinking about it, I really got bothered a lot. And then like rewatching it, you know, you're like, well, those turtles look like crap. You know, how do they look worse? How do you make them look worse? The animatronics look worse. It looks cleaner, and that's not that first movie was so gritty. That's what made it work.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, and now we have New Line Cinema backing us up. And we have all this money. Here's these new suits. Here's this shallow storyline. Shredder's back. Let's give him a cool new hat for some reason. And
yeah, I didn't like his hat.
And let's bring back and let's bring in the two people you've been waiting for, Rocksteady and Bebop. Wait, nope. We don't.
Toka and Razor.
Toka and Razor.
Man.
The two creatures nobody asked for.
Were they even characters before this movie? Because I think
I'm aware of. If they were, it was.
Yeah,
in the
I'm guessing they didn't have the
comics.
rights for Bebop and Rocksteady, and having not had the rights, they then made up these discount versions.
I don't know what the deal was, but that whole
I don't either.
That whole thing. I mean, they were just very uncomfortable. They weren't fun. You couldn't engage with them. You couldn't enjoy them. They didn't have any characteristics besides acting like babies. That was it. That was all they had.
Yeah.
You know, but. Unlike Rocksteady and Bebop, those were your two goons. Those are your two goons. They're the ones that always mess up the master plan and all this stuff. And one of them is a turtle. Why would you make one of them a turtle?
Yes, but how did it get spikes on its shell and our turtles got no extra, gimmicks?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. We just stop asking questions and just start doing things because they look good in this movie. So, and we got the scientist, which was a discount Baxter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird that they put these discount characters in place of these well-known characters.
Right. We got store brand turtles.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
Now, when I was a kid, I didn't think about Baxter Stockman. Like, I didn't think about the fact that we got a low-budget scientist in place of Baxter Stockman. But even as a kid, I remember going, why isn't that Bebop and Rocksteady?
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, I still enjoyed this movie. But I even found myself at times rewatching it as a kid and just pretending it was Bebop and Rocksteady because, I just wanted Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah.
Why isn't that Bebop? That was kind of always my biggest thing. Why isn't that Bebop and Rocksteady?
Well, but now this movie did have its issues in that direction. But again, when I was younger, I liked this movie. It was my second favorite Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah.
It was... Yeah, they changed out April, which sucked because, like you, I liked Judith Hogue as April. She was right on point. This new April was, okay, you're different, and I just have to believe you're April now. Whatever.
Yes.
But
I think this April was the first time I saw a sequel and a different actor was playing the same role. And I remember going, I don't like this. Shouldn't it be the same person? And I feel like that has scarred me ever since then because... I had a hard time accepting a different Rhodey in Iron Man 2. Even though I liked the Hulk and Avengers better, I still had a hard time accepting a different actor. And I feel like if I was to trace it all the way back to a moment in my childhood, it's this moment.
Yes, the April O'Neil swap. But the thing that I really liked about this movie is that it pretty much did take place right after the first one. We're seeing the aftermath.
Yeah.
On a very askew timeline, though. I'm not sure where this... comes across they act like it happened months ago, but the Foot Clan is still running to their new base it just happened 10 minutes ago.
And then the shredder's coming out of the trash, because that was how the first one ended, him in the dumpster and being dumped in the trash. So it's like, what is that about?
Yeah, the timeline's a little messed up, but it is fun. Like, it starts off with a nice, fun scene with the pizza delivery guy coming down to the wherever that, I don't know, the toy
Kino.
store or whatever.
I liked Kino.
Yeah, he was also in another 90s movie, Surf Ninjas.
Oh, yes. I'm trying to remember if I even saw Surf Ninjas.
It had Rob Schneider in it.
Dear Lord.
I still remember the commercial for Surf Ninja, the trailer for it, when I had my VHS for Three Ninjas.
Wow.
Do you remember
I remember Three Ninjas. Yeah, I remember that.
Because 90s and comedy and ninjas is what Turtles started. Turtles started that whole comedy ninja thing that was very quickly, it rose very quick and it died just as fast as it rose.
But here's what's funny is when the Ninja Turtles started that whole thing, like, I saw Three Ninjas and I didn't use this in my head. I didn't say discount Ninja Turtles, but that was the expression going through my head. Whether I use different words or not, it's like copycats. Yeah. And I don't think I might have seen Surf Ninjas, but I'm not sure that I did because, like, I recognized the copycatting. I was like,
okay, well,
no, give me the real thing.
Surf Ninjas was more of it was not that. It was not a copycat. It was definitely its own, like, slapsticky sort of thing. Like, it was its own little world. But anyway, yeah, Kino was in that. And he was a lot of fun. And I did like, again, we get to dive into Raphael and his rebelliousness, and taking Kino and trying to get him to join the Foot Clan.
Yep. Which got Raphael captured and tied up and drew the turtles into a trap.
Right. So we got Raphael captured again. Or he's taken away again. Like, I think there could be a narrative you could play into with being a rebel, but I think there's a lot more to Raphael than just that. And this movie really took his anger and just made it a comedy bit.
It did.
Yeah,
whereas the first movie had heart with his anger. It was a demon that he battled within himself. And we had the compassion of Splinter and that mentorship. And then, like you said, this one is a bit more comedic.
Yeah, it's just there. Oh, we're gonna see Raphael get angry again. Cue the music. All right. But the movie does have good animatronics. The costumes, even though they don't look the best, they do look cleaner.
Yeah,
it's more. You can see the characters are more mobile. They can do their stunts a lot better, a lot more visually stunning. And they dive into the backstory of the ooze and how all that crap happened. It does flow from the first one pretty darn well.
It does. It feels like a true sequel. Like you said, the timeline a little askew, but it feels like a true sequel.
Yeah, and Casey Jones is missing for some reason. Did they explain why he wasn't in that movie?
No, they just randomly brought him into the third movie, but they wouldn't explain his absence in Turtles 2. It's weird.
But, yeah, Turtles 2, it has a lot of fun. Like, it's fun in its own right.
Yes.
Like, if you were to watch that as a standalone movie without the first one, I could still enjoy that just the same. If I had never seen the first one. Okay, well, they just fought Shredder. Okay, I'm all caught up. Now it's its own thing. This is what I expect out of a Ninja Turtle movie. And Vanilla Ice is now in this movie.
I have to, as a grown-up, when I was watching this, I had very mixed feelings as an adult. On the one hand, I went, this is one of the cheesiest things I have ever seen.
But that was the 90s.
But that was the 90s. But then I'm like, but I actually kind of get it. The Turtles are starved for attention. They now have an audience. They already had the plan in place to demutate Toka and Razor, and everybody seems to think they're in costume, so I can understand how teenagers would play into it, how they played into it, and actually had fun with it. But then when Shredder shows up on stage and all that stuff, I went and saw Turtles Out of Their Shell live, and it reminds me of that. It was all just this weird stage performance. That's what that reminded me of. And I remember when I was a kid, my dad was so awesome and surprised my sister and I with tickets to go see Turtles Out of Their Shell. I was done by the third song.
Oh, man. Well, dude, I never saw that. Not as a child. I did go online and watch some of it. And I'm like you, I'm just like, no, this is ridiculous. But, going back to like the first two movies, there was, you're right. That was a fun moment in the movie. And actually, a little guilty thing I'm going to admit here.
Yeah.
And this was the early 90s. I was 7, 8 years old. My very first CDs were MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice.
Oh, and there was Vanilla Ice in your Turtle movie.
Right. There's Vanilla Ice in my Turtle movie. I don't even know why I bought those CDs, but it was like a CD was a new thing. I was just happy to have a disc.
Oh, yeah.
This is the future. Where's my flying car?
I didn't start buying CDs till 1995 for some stupid reason. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway.
So I had the parachute pants and everything, man.
Oh, man.
So, like,
that's nice.
So that scene to me, like, I can actually watch that scene and enjoy it for what it is.
Yes.
You know, it's a mainstream, at this point, it was a mainstream movie. New Line Cinema picked it up. It makes sense that this movie was what it was. And for the 90s, it was a kind of an...
Well, New Line was in front of the first movie, too. I feel like...
Only in the new distribution. Not in the, I still have the original VHS. New Line Cinema is not in the new VHS.
See, I don't have the original VHS anymore, so fascinating.
Yeah, the original VHS is all FHE. I still remember that freaking Pizza Hut commercial at the beginning with the kid with the baseball and he couldn't catch the ball, or he finally catches the game-winning ball. I remember everything. I watched that VHS over and over and over again, and I had my birthday party at Pizza Hut, and they gave me a Ninja Turtles. They gave me a Ninja Turtles cake. It had ooze. It spelled my name. Oh, dude, I was.
That's awesome, man.
You and I grew up in the time to experience Ninja Turtles for sure.
Oh, we so did.
Because
we live in such an odd time where they've tried to revive the Turtles in so many different ways, but you and me grew up in the golden age of Ninja Turtles.
We sure did. My son watching these movies, he doesn't get it, does he? He says he likes it now, but to him, he's like, they look like they're wearing rubber suits. He didn't get the magic of it, you know. He didn't.
Yeah.
And I have to understand that to a degree, but at the other part, the other part of me just wants to like shake the shit out of him and say, "Whose kid are you? This is the most awesome movie in the world." I don't abuse my children.
I think that's the problem with a lot of our generation now. Like why there's so much division with Star Wars. Why there was so much division when Turtles came out in 2014. Because we were caught up in this golden age and in this magic. You and me know what it's supposed to feel like to see a Ninja Turtles movie when it comes out, and it's different now.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes our fandom can get a little toxic because we're a little bit disillusioned. But whatever. That's another rant for another day.
Hey, man. Full Frontal Nerdity. Rant on. It doesn't matter. There are no rules, and yeah, we're just going rogue here. That's what this podcast is.
Oh, there we go. Going rogue. But I like Turtles, too. And Toka and Razor, as a kid, I enjoyed them. As an adult, I'm sitting here going, we're missing something.
Yeah.
Okay? They got this gimmick that they're kids, but we need that character arc. We need the Turtles to face them more than the 2 times that they face them in the movies. We need something to build between the Turtles and Toka and Razor. And you don't think about that as a kid, right? Because you're kind of caught up in the, look, it's the Turtles again. But as a grown-up and watching it a bit more critically, that's what I realized is kind of missing out of this film. It still has heart. Not as much, but it has heart. But that was kind of the stuff that was missing. We needed more between the Turtles and Toka and Razor. And Donatello, had this really cool moment when they were talking to the scientists that created the mutagen. And they accidentally came up with the formula that made the mutagen. So the whole formula was an accident. The fact that one canister accidentally leaked and the Turtles happened to be there, Donatello was hoping there would be more to their origin story, and he was disappointed with what it was.
Yeah.
Because he's like, but aren't we supposed to be special? And I feel like they didn't finish that arc.
Yeah, they didn't.
And I feel like with Toka and Razor, they had opportunity to give more of the time with those characters and have them actually finish that arc that, well, so what if our origin was an accident? It's miraculous that it happened, and our lives are something miraculous. But they didn't give it that closure.
Right, yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they could have easily went the butterfly effect and how each moment is in its own right a special moment, because one minor thing changed one way or another, you and I wouldn't be here, and same with them. You know, if that accidental mutant, I can't say that word. I'm going to have to edit that out. That mutant
full frontal nerdity, man. You can't edit anything.
Oh, yes, I can. No. Yeah, but that accidental, the ooze becoming what is being an accident in itself is what is miraculous. The fact that it ended up where it ended up, and it broke how it broke, and they ended up in it the way they ended up in it, and becoming who they are, and happened to be with some super genius rat that wasn't a mutant yet, but somehow super genius who knew Japanese and somehow traveled to America. A lot of gray area here.
Yes.
That is miraculous. And you're right. They definitely could have harped on that story arc with Toga and Razor, but those characters, they were there only to be the discount. Rocksteady and Bebop, they're funny, goofy characters. Here, have fun, enjoy your popcorn, buy tickets, buy memorabilia, or buy the toys, buy all that stuff, which I did. I bought all the toys.
Oh, I did too. I had everything. Yeah, I had it all, man. And I think if you were to really examine the difference between the first one and this one, I'd say there's two main things that stand out that kind of lower this one. I still think it's the second best. I really like it because it still's got that heart, but I think the two things that lower it is, number one, it's not as edgy as the first one. You said it best when you said it was cleaner.
Yeah.
And so it took out some of that grit and it was cleaner. The other thing was that potential to go on that journey with Donatello, to go on that arc with kind of like what he was feeling. And it didn't do it. The first one would have done it. The first one would have brought us through that somehow. And this one, and to me, those are the things that kind of knock it down. I would love, as a grown-up, to have seen the Turtles actually fight Super Shredder. That's the other thing.
I know,
but that's not as big as the story arc.
What a weird thing. See, that's where this movie becomes disjointed. There's no delivery on anything that they give you. They have attempts at creating something, and they bring it to the table, and you're like, "Ooh, this looks good. I think I'll have some." And then you bite into it, and it's like a plastic burger. You're like, "Oh, this is nothing. There's nothing here. There's no substance. It's okay. Well, it looks good on the plate. That's good, I guess." That's what this movie is. It became what unfortunately a lot of movies become, and it became a toy commercial.
Yeah.
And
that's sad because
that's where the
it's
integrity
good.
went to. So
it's good. Like, you could see the movie is good. You could see the movie has potential. You could when I say potential, it has potential to be better than what it was.
Yes.
And it's kind of sad as a grown-up to look at that and go, man, why didn't you fight Super Shredder? Why couldn't there have been a struggle, and then you realized you need to get him to knock out the pillars and have the whole pier come down on him?
Probably for the video game.
I didn't play that video game.
That's what that seems like. That seems like a setup for a video game.
That's true.
Like, oh, you got to discover to have him knock down the pillars. You never played the Turtles video game though?
I played all the Turtles video games, but that's why I was wondering, because it's like, wait, was there a game I missed where you fought the Super Shredder?
That one wasn't in it, but I could see that being a possible setup for a video. The video games were badass. The arcade game. The arcade game. I used to go to the arcade. See, children, there used to be this housing unit where people would have games, kind of like a Dave & Buster's, except not a Dave & Buster's. It was just made for video games, and you had to stand up and use knobs and buttons. But
yes, nowadays you'd be too afraid of COVID-19 to touch any of that.
Right. Well, nowadays it's kind of like Back to the Future. You got to use your hands.
Yes. I was actually watching Back to the Future like 2 days ago, and I just laughed at that scene because I'm like, there are some things that Back to the Future 2 got right, and that was one of them.
Pop quiz. Who was the kid who said that line?
That was Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood. That's right. So anyway, Squirrel. Back to where we were.
Squirrel.
Those video games were badass. The arcade game was good, and the Nintendo game was really good itself.
Oh man,
I remember that Nintendo game. Like when you were on the streets, you had that overhead, like 2-dimensional. Well, the whole thing was 2-dimensional, but you had that overhead, bird's eye view of the game. And then when you get into the sewers, it went to that, kind of like Mario sort of setting. I'm not good with video game terms. Man, what a fun game.
That was a fun game. Those games, I had all three of them on regular Nintendo. And that was like, my dad and I bonded over those games. Like, he loved the games more than like I loved the Turtle movies.
Yeah.
So like, it was fun. Yeah.
So we got the second Turtle movie. It was good. Younger me enjoyed that movie a lot. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't diving into the depths of it and what this meant and what that meant or this, that, and the other. So as a child, and this is what I love about doing this podcast, is because we're able to distinguish our actual experiences from actually seeing this in theaters as children to now seeing it as YouTube movie reviewers. You know, it's very interesting.
It's so odd to do this. It is.
I feel special. I feel special that we're in this position to do this together. For its 30-year anniversary, a movie that meant so much to us. Now we're able to dive deep 30 years later and have our own TV stations, in a sense, talk about it. I think it's so cool. So let's talk about the giant turd called Turtles 3.
You know, it's funny. When I was a kid, I was in denial. When I was a kid, I loved this movie simply because it was the Ninja Turtles back on the big screen. But if I had to be honest with myself, even the kid me would go, why do those costumes look so bad?
Yeah, it's bad.
It's funny because you talk about the Turtle 2 ones looking kind of bad, and you're right. They definitely looked worse from the first one to the second one.
There's a tier here,
But then you compare that to the third one, and it's like, oh boy. You could tell Jim Henson's company had a hand in the first two, and they departed from that totally in the third one. I mean, honestly, when I was watching it back recently, because I hadn't watched that movie since I was a kid. Like, I guess that's how much that one was forgettable. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And when I did my ranking video, I thought, well, I guess I better watch it. And I was like, oh my gosh. There was no heart in this movie. There was no joy it felt in filming this movie. Casey Jones, utterly wasted. Just a babysitter.
Well, they did bring him. They did have him play the guy in the past as well. He played two different.
Well, that was stupid because it made no sense. Because they didn't. They should have said, "Oh, this is an ancestor" or something, and you could tell that's what they were hinting at, but it was never explained. So you're just like, how is Casey Jones in two places? Like it just. It's like, what is happening in this movie?
Yeah, that movie was a shit show, for sure.
Yes.
I mean, just the explanation of everything doesn't make sense. The fact, it's just, I'm losing my words because there's so much shit wrong with this movie. You know, like.
Where do you start?
I don't know. Corey Feldman was back. That's a good thing.
That was a good thing. I'll count that as a positive.
That was a good thing. Now, I remember as a kid, I did enjoy this movie to a degree. You know, again, I was about 10 now, 9, 10 years old when this movie came out. So, you know, I was ignorant. I was watching it. I was watching it.
I was in denial.
Fool's Paradise. You know, and but the movie itself holds no validity with anything that happened before it. It doesn't really continue any story arcs.
No.
It looks fake as hell.
Oh my gosh.
I think the only good thing about that movie is this lore of the ancient turtles that they were trying Kappa, the evil turtle, or the demons or whatever.
Whatever
I think
that
there's a little nugget of potential that they could have built on that they didn't.
Well, let me restate what I said in my ranking video. That was more interesting than the entirety of the movie. Because it's like, okay, so we've established in this movie, they've time traveled. And this thing about these 4 ancient demons that put to shame our bad guy's ancestor, it's like, okay, does this mean later on the turtles yet again time travel and accidentally go even further back in time to create this legend? Because that's too big of a coincidence. Yeah. So there must have been more time travel later in their lives, and they went even further back. I'd rather see that movie because I don't know what I'm watching right now, but I don't like it.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so now there's just actual turtles that were just demons back in the day. So are Ninja Turtles are demons? Okay, got it. Thank you.
And they didn't go anywhere with that in this movie. Like, it's like, why would you bring something like that up and go nowhere with it? It's kind of like the other story arc they tried to carry on in this because Raphael and Michelangelo are getting stir crazy. Kind of like in Turtles 2 Turtles Out of the Shadows, but they actually did something with that story arc. And this one, they want to get out. They go to Japan, and they're excited that humans are accepting them. They're outside in the fresh air and not in a sewer, and they're like, oh, yeah, we should go back because we can't mess up with their timeline. It's like, what? That's not enough. You got to give me emotional closure. And it's like, you know, I don't know why I would expect that out of that movie, but it's just the myriads of things that were wrong.
Yeah, that movie... it's really hard for me to really say too much about it because I don't remember much about it.
Well, then let's move on. There is nothing to say. It's terrible.
Except for I did like the layer, which was given to us in part 2. That bigger layer.
Yes.
But, yeah, besides that, that movie was forgettable. It is forgettable.
It was very forgettable. And it should be forgotten.
So let's fast forward, 25 years from the original later. 2014. Yep.
Are you going to do the 2007 one?
Oh,
the animated movie?
The animated movie.
Yeah.
Yes, I loved that movie. I think that movie was fantastic. I loved everything about it. I loved how it possibly hinted that it could be a continuation from the original.
Now, that part I liked. I loved the little Easter eggs because it had the time sector in there. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, that's kind of cool. What I hated about it is the fact that Leo got sent away alone to learn how to be a better leader. And I'm like, how does that make him a better leader? He's alone. There's nobody to lead. He's alone. But then he decides he doesn't want to go back. And the reason he doesn't want to go back is because of some sense of shame, some sense of anger. And I'm like, well, what you're leading me to believe is you and your brothers had a fallout. Something was said you can't take back. Something was done you wish you could undo. But you don't give me that. So why on this green earth did Splinter really send you away? And why on this green earth did you really stay an extra year longer? When I was watching it back this last time around, I was like, I don't understand that. Well,
yeah, them using it as a reason for him to become a better leader. Yeah, I could definitely see the loophole in that, where that kind of falls out of logic. But I do like the fact that Leo becoming, this mysterious creature in the woods. But like you said, there should have been a little bit more backstory to that explain that.
Yes.
But I'll take it as it is. I do like that aspect of it, and April O'Neil having to hunt out, Leonardo, and the effects of him being gone, how that's affected the other turtles, and
yeah, but I don't mind that stuff. But the fact that it didn't, in my mind, complete that by giving me the real backstory as to why he stayed an extra year.
Yeah,
that's the part I don't understand.
Something that built up to that because his feud with Raphael is to the max in this movie.
Yes, and that was the best part of the movie was the relationship with him and Raphael.
Fight scene,
again, going back to
fight scene in the rain.
Oh man,
that fight scene looks killer.
I have nothing negative to say about that at all. That was amazing. Raph breaking Leo's swords, and then that moment, Steve, where Leo is down on the ground and Raph comes down with the sai and comes right beside his head. And it's that moment where Raph goes, see, I could have killed you if I wanted to. And then you see his face go, oh crap. I could have killed you.
Yeah.
And then Leo kind of has that moment like, oh crap.
Yeah,
like that moment dawns on them both and it's this amazing moment.
Yeah, even Raphael's like pupils, undilate in that moment. Like you can see that rage disappear. Yes. I really enjoyed that movie. I liked most everything about it. One thing that really drives me up the wall with this movie is where the hell are these creatures the entire lifetime of life? The entire time that they've been, haunting the world for,
3,000 years.
But they just showed up now. Where have they been?
I'm assuming it's a portal that's drawing them in. We could have done with more explanation of that, but that's what I assume it was. And so the Foot Clan were hired to try to catch them, or at least point the statues to them when they came in. But yeah, to me, that was also a weird element of the movie. It's a cool plot point. That's cool. Let's have the turtles face something supernatural, face the monsters. I'm fine with that idea. But like you just said, shouldn't there be lore behind these things? They've been here for 3,000 years, and could we spend more time talking about why they're coming into the city? Just let's drop some of this stuff.
And why they happen to be in the same freaking city, all of a sudden, okay, they're here now. But besides that thing, I don't really have an issue with this movie at all. I genuinely like this movie, and I think on my ranking that I put on your ranking in the comments, I think I put this one I think third or fourth. I can't remember.
Well, but it's funny. I had this as my second least favorite, And I had it higher because there's things about it I really like, but because so many things were left unanswered for me, it's like, well, I have a lot of complaints with this, so that's why I put it at my second least favorite. But even putting it there, it's like, no, there's things I still like. The whole thing between Leo and Raph. Like, okay, so the Easter egg shows us this could continue the other three movies. So we know there's been tension between them for all three of those movies. And now to finally see that come to a head on that rooftop scene, like, scenes like that were pretty brilliant. And Raphael as a superhero Night Watcher is
that makes
awesome.
That
Casey
makes perfect
Jones
sense.
Figuring it out.
It makes perfect sense for
awesome.
Raphael to go the vigilante route and join and essentially team up with Casey Jones, because that's what Casey Jones is.
Yeah.
And it kind of harps back to that original meeting we saw in the 1990 movie. You know, it kind of goes back to that. These two characters are cut from the same cloth. You know, just one of the cloths is, you know, mutant. And
yes.
But so I thought that was a brilliant understanding of what those two characters are. I think this movie really captured what these characters are. Now that I think about it, I think Mikey was kind of put off to the side a lot in this movie. You know,
he was kind of the comedic relief who sneezed when he needed to sneeze and had a joke when he needed to have a joke.
Yeah,
but
you know, and I think they utilized him well in the newer movies, but
same here.
But this one, he was definitely cast aside a little bit. Splinter could actually do something. That was awesome. I like a Splinter that can do something besides make a funny and shoot a bow and arrow. So that was cool.
Yes. It's funny because you could tell it was the limitations in technology why that Splinter couldn't do anything. Because, you know, I mean, what are you going to do with a rat? So, of course, he's more a Muppet than a dude.
You're
in a
right.
costume.
And honestly, I think he should have died after the first movie because he just looked like he was, oh my God, he looked so bad. Yeah. It's like, why? I can understand why the turtles are wet. Why are you wet? Are you sweating? Are you sick?
Yes. He's in this constant state of dying and sweating underneath of something. Yes,
exactly. So
but like you said, that was cool at the end of this movie when they're surrounded by hundreds of thousands of Foot Clan, which was kind of weird. But to have Splinter actually in the fight and in the fray, and then holding the monsters back and pushing them into the portal, it's like this was the first movie where we finally got to see Splinter fight.
Yeah,
and it's like
we did.
Yes.
We get to see some Splinter choreography here, you know, like, so, you know, and see how a giant rat would fight, and they utilized it well. And I also like the fact that Splinter sounded partly drunk through the whole movie. He kind of slurred out his words, like, oh yes, like I can see they're trying to do some like ancient, some ancient Japan like dialogue here, but he just sounded like he just having a little too much of the what do they call that? The sake there. But I also
hey, did you notice this pattern in these first four movies? In all the first four Ninja Turtle movies, always one turtle gets separated from the other three. The first two, it's Raph and his anger. The third one, it's Mikey who gets separated from them. And then in this fourth one, it's Leo who gets separated from them. Have you noticed that pattern?
No, I didn't. I always just harped.
I always noticed.
I think I always just harped on Raphael just being the one who got taken away in the first two, you know. But I never paid attention to that. Man, Donatello really has his head on straight. He's the only one.
He's the only one who's like hung out, stayed with all his brothers. It wasn't Mikey's fault in Turtles 3. His horse ran away, but still, you know.
I mean, come on, you're a ninja, man. Control your horse.
That's true. Control the horse. Use your ninja skill.
I mean, if we're gonna get and dive down that rabbit hole, let's pause this CGI movie for a moment, the animation, and harp on the fact that none of these fucking turtles have ever used their swords or their weapons for anything. They are caught in a net in part 2. Use your swords and cut the fucking net open.
My wife was yelling at them when we were watching this. She's like, use your swords, Leo. Cut the net.
Yes, that all because they did use their weapons a little bit in the first movie, and these 1990, you know, what would be future Karens of the world, moms, soccer moms.
Oh gosh,
my kids can't see violence. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Ninja is in the name.
It's inherent. If you don't want them to see it, don't take them to the darn movie, but let the turtles be ninjas.
We can harp up that, man. That's an argument. That's an argument that will last for forever. So
for eternity.
So
yes.
Unpause. Back into this movie. I thought it was great. I thought the story of Patrick Stewart, the guy he was playing, I thought that whole story arc with him was actually really good. How he was actually he wanted to collect them, not to take over the world, but to kind of end it, to end it, everything. You know, I thought that was a really cool story arc and really paid, really laid way to, you know, being immortal is not the best thing. You know, having a life expectancy is what makes you respect life. It makes you want, you know, enjoy life more. You know, that you're not going to be here every day. Yep. And I thought that was a really cool thing that they did with that movie.
I think so too. And the other thing that I liked is the comparison between the 4 stone creatures, their family, and the turtle family, because it harkened back to Ninja Turtles 1, where Shredder was a false father, manipulating kids into a false family, which was really a cult. And Splinter was the genuine father, and the Turtles had the genuine brotherhood. And we see that again in this one, told a little bit differently. And that was probably the best part for me about this one, was because Patrick Stewart was almost the Splinter-like character because he was wise. And like you said, he was repentant. He realized immortality is a bad thing, and he wanted to renounce it. But then you had the mutiny of these brothers who rebelled against their leader. And so you see, as the Turtles are having infighting and trying to learn to get back together, and Raphael trying to learn to humble himself, but you see there's an effort to learn that. Whereas with these guys, it's not. They're purely evil. So it was cool, once again, to go back to that false brotherhood and real brotherhood.
Yeah, again, man, I think the way this movie was panned out, I think it gave respect to the Turtles, what they could have been, or what they should have been, rather. I think that the writers understood the characters and who they really were. Yep. And I really loved the tease of Shredder at the end. It really made me want more, a sequel to this.
Because I always thought that the pier collapsing wouldn't kill Super Shredder. He was a mutant.
Dude, he was crushed by a freaking dumpster and he still lived. So no.
And he wasn't a mutant then. So yeah.
You know, yeah, that just goes back to how stupid that ending was.
Wait, Casey Jones is a murderer. Casey Jones was the one who flipped the switch for the dumpster lid to crush Shredder.
Hey, sorry. Hey, you know what? That's fine. You know what? In the very first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, damn right Casey Jones was a murderer. He doesn't have rules. He's not Batman.
That's right.
You know, there's an actual Casey Jones. There was a Casey Jones. I don't want to say this wrong. It's either a TV series or a YouTube series that was rated R.
Interesting.
And like Casey Jones Vigilante, like they had bad words and everything, and like he beat people up with his fists. He was very bloody, very violent, and it was a cool thing. I caught it. I went down some sort of rabbit hole on YouTube once, and I found it.
For a minute there, it was 7-year-old you that was giving me that description. There's bad words in it, in everything. Yeah, 7-year-old me definitely came out there. Dude, it's Turtles. I mean, every time I talk about this, every time I talk about Ninja Turtles, 7-year-old me is going to come out. You know, that's how, watching that Casey Jones rated R thing is how I felt when Raphael said damn in the first movie. You know, like, it's like, oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
So, yeah, I thought the CGI movie, the animated movie, was good. I like Lawrence Fishburne narrating. I like the Kevin Smith cameo. And I thought the graphics were very good. Do you know the Kevin?
I didn't like the people. I didn't like the animation on the humans. I didn't like the turtles. Were fine.
Well, the one thing
the humans look weird to me. They look.
The one thing I didn't like about the turtles was that their bandanas weren't flush with their heads. That really always, like, I just want to stick my finger in there and say, tighten this up, man. Tighten it up. You know, like. So anyway, now. Do you have anything else you want to say about the animated? Okay.
No, I have nothing else to say about that one. Yeah.
So then we get the news at a 25th anniversary party that they did with all the old cast and crew of the original movie. And you're like, oh my God, let's make another one. They make an announcement that they're going to make another one. I was really excited and very concerned. Because once again, I'm like, you need to capture the storytelling essence that first movie had. Please don't rely on CGI. Please don't rely on CGI. Have CGI, but don't have it be your star of the movie.
Yeah.
I think we stopped doing. You take this one, man. You take this one. What's your thoughts?
When the hype was coming out for this one, the places where I got concerned, I don't mind if you take lore and you experiment within lore to do new things. I don't like it when you take lore and break it. So the first rumors I were hearing is that they weren't going to be mutants, they were going to be aliens. And I was like, okay, look, I will respect you want to do something different, but that's not an experiment inside of lore. That is breaking lore. So you got to do something new, yes, but you keep it within the lore, because that's part of the magic of the turtles. It was this ooze that made the turtles. And I think they compromised because the ooze was alien in nature and it came from outer space. And that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. You look like you have a point.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, man,
Good.
You triggered me. I just got film.
I triggered him. I triggered him.
No, I mean, I was all up for the alien origin story, because I knew it wasn't going to be like, they came down like a freaking meteorite. It was the ooze that was going to be alien.
See, the way I kept hearing the rumor was the turtles themselves were aliens that looked like turtles.
Dude, they took that concept, they got rid of it, and then they brought it back for the second movie, and nobody gave it.
That is very true.
But then again,
that's Krang, though. That's lore. Krang is an interdimensional being. He's not a mutant, a mutagen.
What do you think they were gonna? Where do you think it was gonna come from? That ooze was gonna introduce Dimension X. That's that whole story thing that was gonna come into play.
The thing that I was concerned about, and if I got it this way, then I wasn't the only one who heard it this way. The ooze being from outer space, another dimension, is cool. That's comic book movies, and you know what? That's fine. That goes with lore. What didn't go with lore is the turtles themselves being aliens. And that's what I kept hearing, that the turtles themselves were going to be the aliens, and that was their new origin. And I was like, no.
And yeah, it was something that Michael Bay said, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but I remember, like you, being triggered about it and being like, what? They're going to be aliens? But I read the quote, and the quote said they were going to have alien origins. He didn't say they were going to be aliens. Like, when you read what his quote said, it was taken out of context, and people just blew up with this whole, oh my God, they're going to show up on a spaceship. Like that's what people were thinking. And this movie, I think, really fell victim to what a lot of movies, specifically in DC world, have fallen into, where they listen to fan complaints and just change their integrity to try to please the fans for something that they're complaining about.
You can tell
seen yet.
That is the main problem with this movie, because I think this is a good movie, but you can tell that it suffered from what you just said, the fans complaining. The only thing I thought was legit was the alien thing, but that was probably because I wasn't seeing the original quote. Because, by the time it hits the internet, you're not seeing the original anymore. You're hearing everybody else's outrage. And, so that's what I was hearing. And so, the picture in my mind was they're going to come on an alien spaceship, wrong or right. That's what I kept hearing. I was like, well, don't do that. But I didn't mind the ooze being from another dimension or from another planet. And so when they said that in the movie, I was like, yeah, I'm totally fine with that. So that was cool. The other thing that I was fine with that nobody else seemed to be fine with was the actual look of the turtles. I thought they looked like giant mutated turtles.
Yeah, I thought they looked decent. My only problem with that was their size. I didn't like how big they were, because that doesn't scream ninja. Right. Silence hides in the shadow. That says you're freaking huge, and I can hear you tiptoe like you're stomping on the floor.
Yeah,
they have to weigh. They have to weigh like 500-600 pounds each, man.
I mean, but the thing that I liked with them playing with that, and maybe this is less the size, but I mean, think about it. Like, I never thought of this watching the old movies. They're mutant turtles, so we know their anatomy is different than ours. But what I never thought of was their strength. And so that first scene where we don't see them, but we see those giant crates being knocked, and those crates hit the Foot Clan and knock them into the water, I went, number one, oh, they're dead. Oh, sweet. We're going back to grittier turtles? Yes, give me that. Because, when they originally wrote the turtles, they were more gritty. And I was like, yes, Yes, I'm for that.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of cool. And so like to see their strength, I was like, that's a cool element. That's a cool element.
Right. You're right. And you know, my issue with them being huge is not a big issue. I didn't mean to, no pun intended. But it's one thing I'm just like, yeah, I like the human-sized turtles, or even shorter. Like even the cartoon, they're shorter than April O'Neil. But the movie itself leaves a bad taste in my mouth because it's copy and paste. Amazing.
See,
Spider-Man.
I was fine with the movie until the third act when it did copy and paste. I agree with you about the Spider-Man stuff. It's ridiculous. But up until that point, I liked the origin story they were establishing that April O'Neil's dad was the scientist, and
yeah, that was. I thought that was a good element. Little harped on too much with her naming them and all that stuff, but and again, then we also have the Splinter story, which again, what was wrong with the original cartoon? You know, Splinter origin, because now we're. Like I can't remember what his origin was.
Basically, it was just like the Turtles. He's getting the shots, and then sometime in the sewer, I'm guessing the mutagen affected their brains because he picked up books on ninja and learned the forms by reading the books, mastered it, and taught his kids. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. See, whatever. Shut up. Just make him.
I get it.
Human. Just make him.
But I'm not
human,
talking
please.
about that part of the origin story. I liked the idea of O'Neil being that connected to the Turtles. But then I liked, because you could definitely tell that what's his face, who was the bad guy, he was supposed to be the Shredder. You could tell he was supposed to be Shredder.
Everyone got mad because he was whitewashed.
Yeah, and I get it. So then make Orokusaki the scientist, because that's a really smart idea to have the Shredder actually be the dude working with the mutagen, and to have that.
I remember you saying that in your ranking. That definitely would have been a good tie, because that's something that these turtle movies are, except minus the first one, which is still kind of loosey goosey, but like the connective tissue between Shredder and the Turtles, and then adding in the connection of April O'Neil was a great. Yeah, would have been a great concept if Shredder was the scientist.
Yes,
you know, and that's what these movies and stories are missing, is that full circle connective tissue with everybody.
And they almost
could have done it.
They almost had it, but everybody complained, and so you could definitely tell things were reshot. And I get it, because it's also a little bit breaking lore that Shredder wasn't Orokusaki, that it was this guy. So I get it. That's a little bit of lore breaking.
See, I don't mind that stuff. I don't mind that sort of lore breaking. It doesn't bother me. I encourage that sort of creativity. Yeah. You know, when it comes to giving me a new vision on things, just make it work. Have heart. Don't just do it just to do it. Don't reinvent the wheel. You know, reinvent the freaking vehicle. Yeah. In which rides the wheels to get wherever it needs to go or wherever it rides. You know, reinvent the vessel. You know, but so I wouldn't have minded. Him being whitewashed and changing that, it wouldn't have bothered me as much as it bothered everybody else. Yeah, but everyone wants to see the same thing that they've seen a million times over. Yep,
and you can definitely tell, like, that's where this movie suffered the most, other than the third act, which I know we're about to get into, and that's the part that really triggers you. But yeah, it's just, you could tell it suffered from that. Like, they threw that alien joke in the movie. They're not aliens, they're turtles. You know, like that line from April O'Neil's like, oh, okay, that was just a little nod to everybody that complained about that.
I know. They should have done like a slapstick fourth wall where everyone stopped and looked at the camera.
Yep. Yep. If you're gonna do that, go all the way and break the fourth wall. But yeah. But where you feel it the most is with Shredder. You could tell that it would have been better if they could have kept, like, I mean, gosh, that line where that dude is sitting there, Eric Sachs, that's his name. I was trying to remember it this whole time. But when Sachs is talking to Leonardo, and Leonardo says something, and he goes, oh, say that again. I want to hear your voice. I mean, how much better would that have been if that was from the Shredder and not a bad guy that never existed in any turtle lore? Like, how much better would it have been if they just, if they just, instead of listening to what all these people were complaining about, and just did it and let him be Shredder?
Right. And what happened to him?
I don't know. Did he die?
Right. I don't know.
He's not in Out of the Shadows. I know that.
Right, but I don't remember anything happening.
I
to
don't
him
either. Yeah, after he shot Will Arnett, I don't remember what happened.
Yeah, he's poof.
Yeah.
But yeah, he delivered that great line, and it was either followed or it preceded that terrible line where he says, "And I will drain all the blood from your body."
Yep.
Until you're dead.
Well, yeah, duh.
Yeah, that's what happens when you drain blood from
it,
the body. Thank you, Captain Obvious. We appreciate it. We appreciate your scientific, knowledge that you just slammed down on everybody.
Oh,
no blood
where's
equals
Baxter
dead people.
Stockman? Can we just get Baxter in this win? Bring him in.
All right, so yeah, third act was a shit show.
Yeah, it was.
Copy and paste, Amazing Spider-Man.
And I can't even argue with you on that one. Like, I want to because I like the majority of the movie, but that ending was terrible.
Yeah, you could tell. You could tell that I personally think that the original ending. This is all speculation. I have nothing to go on besides. I just have maybe a little too much faith in Hollywood. That the original ending, before they decided to change everything because of all the complaints, was Dimension X was going to be introduced because of the alien origin.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, we're going to cancel that. And hey, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Script for Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, yeah, I know how we're going to end the movie now.
Yep.
Yeah, because it was so obvious. And it came out around the same time. They weren't too far apart from each other.
Yeah.
It was so badly copy and pasted. And when that happened, the magic of the Turtles, the essence of the Turtles, who they actually are, I thought were captured very well in this movie.
I agree with that.
And I don't, even though I think Donatello went a little extra with all of his gadgets and gizmos, it's something that I kind of like about it at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know how that stuff doesn't go flying off you when you do a simple backflip, much less go harpooning down a mountain. But
yeah, all his stuff was broken as he's harpooning down a mountain. But it's a Turtles movie. I will let it slide. No pun intended.
Right. Ooh, we are just being punny tonight.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the essence of the Turtles were captured really well in that movie, and I was okay with how they looked. But the movie itself, to me, in my ranking, I'm not sure where. I think this is where I put it on the list. It's like second worst one for me.
Yeah, and I can see why. And I think part of it is the potential that you could see in it. Like you said, the Dimension X ending. If people hadn't complained, or maybe if Michael Bay had just said, okay, fine, let me blow this one thing. The mutagen has the alien origin, not the Turtles. We're trying to introduce something from your beloved childhood cartoon. The Turtles are still Like, maybe if they had maybe they did and everybody buried that because they wanted a wine. Who knows?
But here's the thing, why do you have to speak to your audience like they're 5-year-olds?
I don't know.
Come on. Okay, let me hold your hand. Listen. The ooze is what has alien origins. I promise. The Turtles are still from Earth.
But you know what? You have to think about this, though. It's because the audiences nowadays are acting like 5-year-olds. I mean, The Last Jedi, I have my complaints about that movie. It's not the best Star Wars movie. I do feel like Rian Johnson probably wasn't a Star Wars fan. I just get that impression watching the film. But I don't hate it with the same can't even say the word, with the same visceral passion that everybody else seems to hate it with. It's like, no, it's a movie. It's this dude's interpretation. They should have planned out what they were going to do. They didn't, and this is the consequence of them not planning things out. But quit overreacting. It's all fake. Just let it be fake. It doesn't ruin your childhood because you still have the movies from your childhood. You can ignore these if you want. You still got
exactly,
and that's what I thought about the Turtles.
That is one of the biggest points you can make. That's one of the biggest points that I make to people when they're when they hear a new movie's being made of something that they loved as a kid, and they're like, "No, don't ruin my childhood." Dude, the movie still exists.
Yes,
you can go watch that movie anytime you want.
Yeah,
chill out, But so we got this movie. It was okay at best, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then we got what ended up being my second favorite Turtles movie.
Out of the shadows. They're not going in the shadows, Steve. They're coming out of the shadows.
Well, they have no choice. probably peeking out of shadows all the time because they're fucking humongous.
But they're ninjas. Come on, man. They know how to blend somehow.
We need to put quotations around Ninja Turtles, around the ninja part, because we have yet to see actual ninja turtles yet. I think the animated movie might be the closest we got to
I
that.
think so, yes.
Now, I'm going to kick this one off by just defending this movie because this is how I put it in my head.
Yeah.
In some weird timeline, I will connect this as a direct sequel to the 1990 movie. This is where this picks up at in my head.
Nice.
Now, I know you can't really sew them together.
Yeah.
But in my mind, that's what I'm going to do because I want a good movie to that a good sequel to that original, and this is the best I got. Out of all the movies we got, this was the best sequel, not including the animated one, because that one could have sewed in a lot easier, but live action speaking,
yeah,
this is it. And it played into the cartoon so much that it tapped into that nostalgia.
Oh,
it did what the original 90 movie didn't do, and we got to see a Technodrome.
Oh, gosh, yes.
We got to see a Crane. I don't mind Crane's voice. I loved Crane's voice.
It irritated me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. His voice is irritating.
Yeah, but the wrong kind of irritating. Like, you don't want to go full irritating. You got to at least have something that is like, yeah, okay, that's irritating to the people in the movie. But I, as the audience, like that. And me, I went, what is that?
See, I felt something different with it, like, because I was always concerned how are they going to do the Crane voice. When I knew Crane was going to be in this movie, you have that 90s style.
That little Schroeder voice, yeah.
Yeah, he did that weird little noise, like noise that he would make every now and again, like.
But if you're going full 90s nostalgia, whatever, bring that dude back, or do as close as you can to that. I did not like what they did.
Well, you see, but you got to trail away from doing a copy and paste. This is where you and I differ. This is one of the things.
Yeah, okay, but I'm not trying to talk copy and paste. But I mean, my gosh, there was something about his voice that was grating, and maybe part of it is this. So Shredder is escaping. That was a great scene. I love the turtle van shooting the sewer manhole lids. My gosh, I had that toy, and even on the big screen, I was on the edge of my seat, and I think I might have jumped up and cheered actually because that made me so happy.
And in the trailer, they used the Beastie Boys song when they showed that in the trailer. Yeah, that was on point. Yes, go ahead.
But then Shredder, when he gets teleported to that other dimension, there's no moment to pause there. So, and I feel like, why did they not pause there? He was supposed to be teleported from point A to point B, and now he's in point Z. This should be shocking. This should be a moment.
Or point X.
There we go, Dimension X. He's in Dimension X, dude. And there's a brain coming out of a weird-looking suit. But instead, what we got was this conversation like they've known each other all this time. Now, I get Krang's been studying him, and I can see probably where the tie-in was to the original plot, where the ooze came from this dimension, and I can understand that. Like, I understand Krang knowing Shredder's background. I'm fine with that. I'm not fine with Shredder going, what, this strange alien brain wants to team up with me? Okay, fine. I guess we'll rule the world together. Okay, I'm in. Let's go. I'm like, no. Shredder, you moron. He never explicitly said we're going to rule the world together, ever. You took an assumption, and you took that as far as it goes, and you know what they say about assuming, right? Gosh, dude, you idiot. Shredder is the type of dude that would have contingencies for his contingencies. He would have been prepared for Krang's inevitable betrayal. And so things like this were like grating on me. I'm like, that's where I was like, this is where you could have made this movie better. If they would have opened some doorway where Shredder and Krang could have been talking on comms and some sort of communication and developed Krang more, maybe I could have been more used to his voice as we got more into that character. But as it was, 2 seconds in the beginning, with no pause for effect that Shredder is not on Earth anymore, wake up, Shredder, and no real conversation, no real distrust in Shredder. Shredder doesn't trust anyone. He would not have trusted that dude within that 2-second conversation. Anyway, to me, that's where I picked that apart.
They really threw away Shredder in this movie, which sucks because the person playing Shredder did such a good job.
He did.
I thought he made an excellent Shredder, and I loved his suit in this movie.
I did too.
Which we didn't talk about his suit in the 2014.
Oh, yeah. Here's what I'll say. It was a rip-off Super garbage. Shredder, and it was kind of cool.
I didn't like it. I did not. To me, it said nothing about it said ninja.
That's true. It didn't. But it was supposed to be ninja meets modern technology. I get what you're saying because I'm back and forth on it. It was cool to watch Splinter fight it. That was cool.
Yes, that scene was cool, but it was also just it was a transformer.
It
they were
was
trying to pass as a ninja.
Yeah.
So now this suit I thought was really good.
Yes.
Like I thought this suit worked out. It looked good. It was all black, and we only got to see him wear the mask once, which sucked.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
But you're right though. The rest of the suit was cool. I wish we got more of the mask. I loved the black suit and the spikes. That was cool. And
I wish they would have. I wish they would have developed his character more because the guy playing him did a great job, but Shredder has no ground in this movie. He's no threat. Like he's only a threat because they tell us he's a threat.
Yes.
You know, he's not intimidating. Like his army from the first movie just looked like I don't know, a war army.
Yeah.
You know, like they weren't ninjas at all.
And they didn't even build that background like they did in Ninja Turtles. You know, the whole idea of him knowing how to manipulate the kids of the city to come follow him.
He's just there, and he's a bad guy, and we just have to believe that.
Yes.
You know, there's no development with him in this movie, which sucks because I really like this Shredder.
Yep.
And, you know, and you're right, when he goes and meets Crane, okay, plot convenience.
Yes.
You know, now if Crane was introduced in the last movie,
oh yeah,
then that would have morphed over a lot smoother and probably a little less choppy. But yeah, Shredder has no integrity in this movie. He holds no value, nothing. He's the patsy.
Yeah,
he's the one just doing the work. He's expendable. He is the Crane what Rocksteady and Bebop are to Shredder.
Yeah,
like that's what he is. He's an expendable dope that it doesn't matter what happens to him.
Yeah, and I think that's my real problem with Crane. If you wanted to boil it down, maybe my defense mechanism is the voice. But going beneath that, the problem is both he and Shredder had no ground to stand on. They didn't have the development to make them a true threat. Right.
And, when it comes to the voice, again, I won't harp on it too much. I like the voice. It kind of reminds me of Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors.
I didn't see that. But I don't know. The voice.
What?
The voice bugs me.
You've never seen Little Shop of Horrors?
I did not, no.
Dude, it's a great movie.
I'll have to check it out. Awesome.
Very, very fun. If you like Rick Moranis, Steve Martin.
And I do.
And John Candy and Talking Plants and good comedy and Bill Murray, you're going to like that movie.
Oh, then I'm down.
And when you hear it and you hear the actual Audrey voice, you're going to be like, I see what you're talking about, Steve.
All right. Well, I'll have to check that out then. I still don't like Crane's voice.
That's all right. To each his own, you're wrong. So,
I see how it is.
No, man. So it didn't bug me. It was something that I got used to very quickly.
Oh, let me harp on a positive. Can I do that real quick?
Yeah.
Bebop and Rocksteady.
I was just about to go.
Well, then good. We're of the same mind.
Because after that first initial, okay, this is the world we're gonna build very quickly. Now it's the cartoon.
Yes.
Wrapped in flesh.
Yes, and I loved that. I loved that feeling.
Dude, and the people playing Rocksteady and Bebop did phenomenal. You could tell they had a fun time doing it. That was my Rocksteady and Bebop. That was the cartoon Rocksteady and Bebop.
Yep.
On big screen.
Yes.
That was. I waited 30 years for that to happen.
Yep. And when I was watching this on the big screen, and I'm just taking it in. So that was my initial reaction. Is I feel like I'm watching the cartoon. And so like I remember when I came home and I did my first review. I had fewer critical things to say about it because I was just coming off the high of I just saw my cartoon in live action. That was awesome. And later it's like I could pick things apart. Like I never liked Crane from the beginning, but I like that they threw him in there because we got a Technodrome. That's awesome.
Yeah. You got a Technodrome and a setup for a good continuation, which we never got.
Which we should have got. Why don't we have that, Steve? Where is it?
Because this movie made less than the first movie.
Who cares?
And I think that's because it was such a drastic change from the first movie.
Yeah.
The first movie tried to be its own thing and then got scared.
Yeah. This
movie went ahead and said, okay, well, we're going to have the ooze now be an alien origin thing, which it was, and nobody gave a crap about. They changed it to that, so if they would have done that in the first movie, everyone would have been okay with it.
And that's the biggest problem with these type of movies, right? The backstepping. Like, they don't have the guts. I mean, that's what happened with our DCEU. You know,
Yeah,
for all my
exactly.
problems with BVS, I wanted to go forward in that universe and see where it was going to go, but they backstepped.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with this. Like, that's where the cracks were in the shell of the first Turtles movie.
But this one, they were really laying the ground for another movie. Like what they should have done in the previous film. They were really laying the groundwork for Baxter Stockman. You know.
Yep.
Dude, I loved Tyler Perry in that role, and I'm not a huge Tyler Perry fan. I'm really not.
Yeah, but he was hilarious in this. Like, that weird nerd thing that he had going on was hysterical.
Yes, dude, and yeah, there's this show I watched called Forensic Files. And there's this one episode where the scientist who was one of the scientists trying to solve this mystery, looks like the living embodiment of Baxter Stockman. He's got the bow tie, the round glasses, black dude mustache, man. And he's one like goofy laugh away. That goofy laugh he does, the little shit that he does.
It's funny. Like, when I first saw this movie on the big screen, that laugh didn't bother me. Then when I watched it a few more times after that, that laugh bothered me. Then when I watched it to do my ranking, I loved his character beginning to end, laughing everything. It's such a weird effect that has on me.
Yeah, his character is so good, so just fun. It's a lot of fun, and I really wanted to see him become that Fly. I wanted that to happen so bad, and we're never gonna get that because freaking Hollywood and they're backstepping. But yeah, this movie. I mean, seeing these turtles surf on the Technodrome pieces being built above New York City. This is so freaking cool.
It was so cool.
And Splinter himself being so active in both of these films.
Yep.
Just perfect. These movies, not perfect, but these movies had so much potential. Could have been so much. And I wouldn't mind seen them this series continue.
Yeah, I would have loved that. And perhaps if it continued, we would have had more Casey Jones in the mask with the hockey sticks. Because
and hopefully a different
I like Stephen Amell there. I thought it was cool.
Nope.
and I loved it when the turtles were pranking him, and Stephen Amell's like, "There's a giant rat."
See,
and they're like,
why would you be shocked? Why would you be shocked by that? Like, I would be like, "Oh, is that your friend?" Because that would make sense.
That's true. That is true. But it was too hilarious. Like, the playfulness between the turtles and him was great. I loved it.
And that's the cool thing about Michelangelo in these movies. Michelangelo really shined as not just he is the comedic, relief, but he's essentially the heart of these movies. Or at least the second one. He really is. He's the one that wants to be human. He's the one that kind of slips the secret. He kind of carries this weight on his shoulders that he's never really carried before. He's just always the funny guy in the background. But now he's like the little brother that everybody protects. He's like the runt, if you will. He's like the runt of the brothers. And But this time, Turtles 3 had that arc of Raphael and Michelangelo stir crazy wanting to belong. This one picked up that arc and actually finished it. And what I loved about how they handled that arc, when I was watching this through, I forgot what a powerful moment it was. But when Michelangelo and Raphael drop down in the police station and everybody sees the turtles and all that stuff, when they get back to the turtle den, what you find is Michelangelo is so upset, not because they were just afraid of them, but because when they looked at Michelangelo, there was actual hatred in their eyes. And so seeing Michelangelo, like the funny guy, the party dude, have to deal with that emotion, it was an incredibly powerful scene, which added weight to the fact that this ooze could turn them all human. And it added to how powerful that temptation truly was. And then to have Splinter come up and say, "Your boyhood is drawing to an end. The time has come for you to become men. This choice is yours and yours alone." And then to have Raphael be the guy who breaks the vial. To be the guy who says, "We're not going to do this." When he was kind of gung-ho for becoming human. It was a good moment. It was. There's only one little thing that, this is a minor petty point. You know me and my petty points.
I know you and your petty points.
This is one minor petty point that I have with that is Raphael got a little upset with Leonardo for making a decision for the group.
Yeah.
And then he makes a decision for the group and throws the vial against the wall. I'm just saying, that's a little double standard.
You know what? I can't take that petty point from you other than to say there's a spirit of unity that's over them in that moment, and you can kind of sense it as the audience, because they really, by this point in the film, they've all changed by this point. Like, you can sense they've all grown, and they're understanding the importance of being who they really are, inside and outside. And so, it was kind of a good moment, but I get what you're saying, because it's not super apparent.
Right. Again, that's why it wouldn't be a critique, it'd be a petty point.
Yes.
But it doesn't look like we're going to get a continuation.
A reboot, right?
Sure. It's been in pre-production hell since my channel started. My second video on
I remember that actually.
Was Turtle Talk.
And that was your second video before you went silent for 8 months, right? So this was a long time ago.
Yeah. Let's reopen that wound. Thank you.
What are friends for?
Hey, man, I was going to be an Instagram sensation. That's what Film Trigger's going to be. I swear it. Anyway, so what would you like to see happen next in the Turtle world? If they were going to reboot it, reimagine it, redo anything, what route would you like them to go? I mean, it's a moneymaker. They're going to do it. So let's come to grips with that, and let's express our opinions of what we would want to see happen.
Well, full frontal nerdity here. I don't want a reboot. And I want a continuation of this present story. Yes, it's got its problems and its holes created because they doubled back on the first one. Yeah. But that second one, though made less money, I think people still had a better reaction to it. Yeah. So continue that story, because now you have Crane. Now you have Dimension X. You've opened up an entirely new world to explore with the Turtles. We still have Bebop and Rocksteady somewhere in here. We have freaking Casey Jones, who needs to actually officially become Casey Jones.
Yeah.
So I want this story. And I don't know who Will Arnett's character, the Falcon, I don't know who he ends up becoming. Like, I don't know if he's like an actual character.
Yeah, he's from the cartoon, man. He was the I think the camera guy in April O'Neil's Newsroom.
Okay. Well, I want like, he's got an important part to play. I want to see him go to another level. Like this,
and I actually love his character, by the way. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to.
No, you're good.
I love his character because
I do too.
The character he's playing is just as sleazy as he was in the cartoon. That's exactly the character he's playing. I'm like, this is the living embodiment of what that character is. Please continue with your point. I just had to.
Well, and then the other thing is, now you have this potential with Shredder cryogenically frozen in the basement of the Technodrome. And what we saw is there was a ton of other creatures that were Crane's playthings frozen with him. So what is that now? And what is the potential for Shredder to get those things on his side, mutiny against Crane, and get back to the world? What type of fight would that bring to the Turtles? Like, there are so many things. I'd rather explore that, because through that we could do something new versus let's retread and reboot. Yeah, let's do that again.
Right, and you're absolutely right. In a perfect world, I agree with you.
We're not getting that. We don't live in that world. Yeah, I know.
Well, hey, you never know. But if we got our way, I would definitely agree with you and say continue that series. At least give it a conclusion.
Yeah.
Don't also copy from Amazing Spider-Man and not continue a story.
Oh gosh, yes.
You know, oh man, what a terrible thing that is.
Yes, it is. Gosh.
So now, in my world, if they were bound to make a reboot, they're like, okay, we're just going to reboot this. I would say, take a look at that 1990 movie, see what made it succeed, not just the Turtles, but the actual storytelling of it. And we live in a world now where we can push the envelope a little bit further.
Yeah.
And I know it will never happen, but I would even say go as far as give them all the red masks that they were.
Oh yeah, way back. But they were violent back then. Like, they used their weapons and they cut people.
See where I'm going here?
I do.
Take that comic book accuracy and bring it to the cinematic world and say, hey.
And call it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Begins.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Batman begins it completely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles begins. I'm down. But yeah, I think if you're gonna do something different, then do something different. Please don't regurgitate. Again, the Happy Poppy pizza eating. Give us something for the comic book fans. Give us something different.
Yeah.
Okay, even if you do the colored mask and you still play into the pizza thing, give us a darker tone. Give us something more interesting, more deep than we've gotten, and the closest we've gotten is the 1990 movie.
Yeah.
Go down that and give us that. And I know that's not going to happen because they see Ninja Turtles and they know how many toys those fuckers can sell.
Oh gosh.
That's all they want to do is sell the toys.
I mean, this is a podcast, so you can't see the Raphael Ninja size that I have here, or the Donatello bow I have sitting on the floor in my studio right now, or the Raphael mask from seeing the movie in 3D when it first came out. So I know on a podcast you can't see that I just lifted all of that stuff up. So I get it. I understand the idea of selling toys. It's a business. But I agree with you. The idea of trying to sell toys has ruined too many movies.
Yes.
Too many movies that had potential to do something cool and unique. Movies is an art form. If you want to make toys, then make them separate from the movie and sell the dang toys and make kids happy. Fine. But let the movies be the movie. I agree with you on your idea for a reboot, but I guess I'm still just... I don't hate these two live-action movies that we got. Even with the first one, ripping off Amazing Spider-Man, even for all those faults, I think they're good enough. They don't have to dump this. They could continue that, and I want that.
Absolutely.
I want this story. I want these characters.
I agree with you 100%.
Yep.
That's... I agree, but if they do make a reboot, that's what I would like to see. What would you like to see if they made a reboot? How would you like to see these turtles be reimagined in a new modern time?
I'd say if you're going to redo it and put them in modern time, I'm going to agree with you and say put them all in the red masks. I understand the different collars differentiates the different turtles, whatever. The point is, if you're putting them in the red mask, you're going back to that more violent, darker thing and go all the way with it. Let them use their darn weapons on the Foot Clan. I mean, the reason in the cartoon they were fighting robots is because they wanted the turtles to use their weapons and still have it be safe for kids.
Yeah.
So this time, let them use the dang weapons on the Foot Clan as people and bring that element back. And I agree with you. If you're going to reboot it, you can't do the same anymore because we're all tired of that. We're all tired of reboots. We're all tired of starting everything over. Like, I'm excited about the Batman, and yet I roll a little bit about it because it's like, well, I know it's not an origin story, but here we go again. Instead of continuing on a story, we're restarting over from a new story, and oh boy. So if you're going to do that, you do have to give me a different story altogether.
Yeah.
And so to put them on the red masks, that's what I want. And please, those listening, I am excited about the Batman. Do not come at me with hate.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about the Batman too. But again, it's that reinvesting the new emotions into a new story. Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, I think giving them all the red masks will put that punctuation at the end. That explanation point of different turtles.
Yes.
We are not
rebooting the same turtles. We are starting new turtles.
Yeah, this is not your average. This is not your regurgitated turtle story. And also, I mean, they could honestly, even reuse the tagline that was on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 movie poster.
This is no cartoon. Yeah,
this is no cartoon, dude. They could reuse that to play into the nostalgia of that, but and said this is no cartoon, dude. Rated
but then you
R,
go see it and you're like,
PG-13, push.
They cut off that foot soldier's arm.
Yeah,
and there was blood squirting. This is no cartoon. You could do that, yeah.
Make it a hard PG-13.
Yeah.
I mean, I know not all movies need to be R. They don't need to use foul language. I don't think that's necessary for this movie. No. Maybe if Casey Jones shows up and he's not, a weenie like Steve Amell, but
he only turned a weenie in season 4 of Arrow. Otherwise, he was.
I've never seen Arrow. I've never watched any of that stuff.
Watch seasons 1 and 2 and stop there. That's it. Watch nothing else.
I'm basing my critique of him as Casey Jones, and that to me is the only not only, but one of the main things I do not like about that movie is that Casey Jones. He just seems like a weenie.
And I get why you don't. I like Stephen Amell because I like the first 2 seasons of Arrow, and that's the part where I got mad. This is the Green Arrow. Utilize that. Tap into. I get he would want to play a different character as an actor. I get it. Let him do that. But tap into the same darkness.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind his hair being short. When I saw the pre-production stuff, that stuff didn't bother me. But when he came into play, and then he was, it all comes down to that line, man. One day I'm gonna be a real detective. I can't argue with you on that. I just want to pet his head slowly, and be like, oh, you will be someday.
You'll be a detective. One day the blue fairy will come down from the sky, and she will grant you your wish, and you'll be a real detective.
Exactly. All right, now go to sleep. You're bothering me, kid. So, all right, man. I think we
covered it.
I think we covered it, man. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm ready. I want to see a sequel. But if a reboot to take it totally different. But to this day, nothing beats the original 1990 movie. Nothing. Has captured the magic of that movie, and not just in my opinion, not just because of the nostalgia that we have for it, because we saw it in theaters at the right age.
Yes, at the golden age of the Turtles themselves. Yes, but it's beyond that. This movie truly did capture lightning in a bottle.
It did. The story itself is magnificent. You can take that story and get rid of the Ninja Turtles aspect of it, and it's still a good story to be told. So all right, man. Well, I think we beat it. We're almost 2 hours into this one.
Oh yeah, man. We definitely beat that dead horse, and it was a blast.
Well, let everybody know where they can find you and your content and all that fun stuff.
Well, you can follow me on the typical social medias. Just search Durbania. On Twitter, it's World of Durbania. And then here on YouTube, just search Durbania. I am the one and only channel that pops up with that. And I do movie reviews and rankings and this other thing that I call theological analyses. Or more so, I call them theological reviews now because Steve gave me that idea. And they're a lot of fun. I just like to get deep into movies, find spiritual content, find God in movies, and talk about that. So love to have you come over and hang out.
And I love coming over and hanging out with you. So, Durbin, appreciate you, man. Always a dear friend, a lifelong friend, 20 years and growing. I appreciate you, brother.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Same here.
So go over to Durbin's channel, check him out, subscribe, and watch his content. And as always, stay trigger happy, my friends. Peace.